Hello everyone and welcome to my Java programming tutorial. In this video we will do an example on list node. So let's get started. We have this before picture and after picture. This question is from UW Seattle and the question is in front of you, which you can see right now, and you can take a picture of this question or you can write it down. Basically the rest of the paragraph is just extra explanation of how to solve this question, but the only thing you need from the question is, or the actual question is, this part which I have written on the whiteboard. So let's get started. What we have is before picture and after picture. So this is your before picture. This is the list you have. And what you have to do is you have to write some couple of statements and convert it into after picture. So this is like a start of linked list, a starting understanding of linked list. This is not the actual thing you will be doing. The only purpose of these type of question is that you have more understanding of how the links work and how they are important when you are assigning some statements. Okay, so you will not be using these kind of questions like why we have to say .next. This is not the way we will be doing the linked list coding. We will be definitely using loops and other stuff like that, but these type of question is just for you to have a good understanding how the links work. So this is what you have, and you have to convert these two lists into this. So what we will do is, first of all, there are some tips which I tell my students like every time, like these are the tips to get started with this type of question. First of all, you have to see what are the nodes you need in the after picture. In this case, we are using all of the nodes. So there may be one or the other case where you are skipping 4 or where you are skipping 3. Any of the number is not in the after picture. So if there is a number in your before picture and which is not in the after picture, we don't care about that number. The only thing we care about is what address that number is holding so far. So in our case, we need all the numbers. So first step to get started with this type of question is starting with the end nodes. As you can see, they are null. So you can put any address in these nodes or make these nodes connect to anywhere you want in your list. Not anywhere, just follow the instruction on the after picture. So let's take a look. Do we have 4 in the after picture? Yes, we do have 4 in the after picture. Where 4 is pointing in the after picture? Your 4 is pointing at 1 in the after picture. So how to make this 4 point at 1? We will say list2. You will write list2 dot next will be here, one more dot next will be here, and one more dot next, because you have to come at this address and then make it point to somewhere equals to. And who knows the address for 1? List knows the address for 1, so it will be equals to list and semicolon. This point, what you have is your 4 is pointing at 1. Now as your 4 is pointing at 1, right, so 4 is no longer null. Now your 1 is also null, so you can point this address or you can point your 1 to anywhere in your list. And what that anywhere is, you have to look in the after picture. Your 1 is pointing at 2, so you need to come at this point. So you have to say list dot next you are equals to, who knows the address for 2? List2. It will be equals to list2, and at this point your 1 is pointing at 2, so your 1 is no longer null, it is pointing at 2. So this is the first rule. Your first rule is starting with the end nodes because they are empty, and you can make it assign according to the after picture. So far what we have is your 4 is pointing at 1 and 1 is pointing at 2. You almost have your list 1 done. Now what you have to do is you have to make sure your list 2 points at 3, and you have to make these 2 as null as well. The next tip is look for 2 arrows. As I was using my marker, usually I use color markers, different color markers, so that you can see the difference. So whenever you are working, make sure you make the connection so that you know where all the nodes are connected after these statements. Okay, so they are updated as you are writing the statement. Or 2 arrows. So a node having 2 arrows. If a node have 2 arrows, it means we can remove one of the arrow, or I would say it is easy or is it safe to remove one of the arrows? Because there are two arrows, so if we remove one of them, the other one is saving the address for that node. Okay, so now let's take a look what we have so far. We have 4 pointing at 1 and 1 pointing at 2. So it means almost our list 1 is complete. Now in our list 2, what we have is list 2 is pointing at 3. So right now your list is pointing at 2, which is over here. So your list 2 is pointing. So as you can see, list 2 it has like 2 arrows right now over here. So we can remove one of the arrow of this 2 so that we can make list 2 point at 3. And how we will do that? We will say list 2 you are equals to list 2 dot next. So list 2 will be equals to list 2 dot next is this one. So now list 2 is pointing at 3. So at this line, what happened is list 2 is pointing at 3. Okay, so we have list 2 pointing at 3, and the last, not the last, one more step we have to do is list pointing at 4. So right now your list is pointing at 1. As you can see, is 1 is safe. Before making any decision or any move in linked list or such type of question, you have to make sure that this 1 is safe. And this is safe in this case. How you can identify? Because this one has 2 arrows, so 4 is holding the address for 1. So if I need 1 in the future, I can ask 4, hey 4, give me 1, or give me the address for 1. So you can make list point at, list should be pointing at 4. So list you are equals to, how to reach at 4 is, who knows the address for 4? So list you are equals to list 2, which is 3 dot next. So list 2 dot next, which is at this point, now your list is pointing at 4. So list is not pointing at 1 anymore. Now your list is pointing at 4 over here, like this. Okay, so now let's take a look. Is your after picture complete? So this is your after picture in my comment section right now. So this, after writing these lines, this is what has happened so far. So your list is pointing at 4, 4 is pointing at 1, 1 is pointing at 2, and 2 is pointing at 3. Oh, sorry, this is list 2. List 2 is pointing at 3. Okay, so list 2 is pointing at 3. Now let's take a look over here what we have in our nodes. We have list pointing at 4, 4 pointing at 1, 1 pointing at 2, and 2 pointing at 3. This is a loop. You need to break this loop. 2 must be null. And what happened to your list 2 as well? List 2 is pointing at 3, 3 pointing at 4, 4 pointing at 1. Again, that's a loop. So it means you have to make the last 2 nodes null. And these are the 2 steps which you have to do at the end of these statements. Okay, you cannot make it null before or in the middle, because otherwise you will lose the list. After doing all the connection, now you can easily make the last node null, as this is your after picture right now. To make null, the easy way is just look at your after picture. So I would say list dot next, and one more dot next equals to null. This will make 2 as null. So let's go over my statement. List dot next. So this is list dot next will take us at 1. Dot next will take us as 2, and dot next, this is part, it will equals to null. List dot next is null. Okay, now we have to make list 2 as null. So this is null now, and there is no connection, so you have break the loop for list 1. List 2, you just say list 2 dot next equals to null, and list 2 is 3 dot next null. After this dot next, when you say null, 3 is no longer connected to any of the nodes. So as you can see, there was a chain of all the nodes. By making it null, you have lost the chain. And in our scenario, we don't need that, and we want it to be null. So these are the steps you have to do to make this before picture, or convert this before picture into that after picture. Okay, that's it for this video. Thank you. Bye-bye.